G'day, guys. Welcome back to Stat Chat Sports. You're here for our review on week 2 of the Premier League. Tazza, 2 weeks in already. We've already had what could be the game of the year already, which was our game of the week we touched on last week. Chelsea Spurs played out a pretty full-on game there. That could be game of the year already, week 2 in of the season. And already some things are starting to shape up a little bit.
Yeah, when we called Game of the Week, I don't think we called it like that. I didn't expect the aggression and it's just a madhouse, that game. Couldn't believe it. Just Conte and Tuchel going at it like that was mental. And the drama, obviously. I've seen a petition for Anthony Taylor to stop refereeing games. There's about 100,000 signatures on it, but yeah, just mental, that game, and it completely lived up to the hype. And yeah, plenty of other results we got 2 teams sitting in the bottom half that we really didn't see sitting there this year. So a lot to digest so far.
Yeah, we're excited to get into it. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button and turn on the notifications to make sure you're being aware of when we're uploading all new videos to the channel. So we'll kick it off with the standard segment on the podcast with the hits, the misses, and the hold fire. And Tazza, you're the guy with the hit this week. Who impressed you this week?
Look, I'm going with Nottingham Forest this week. Getting their first PL win back in the top flight was good. I mean, it's just a good underdog story, really. I mean, coming up against West Ham, they definitely weren't the favourites there. West Ham, not exactly great in the first match week. People expected them to bounce back, and Forest, to their credit, really took it to West Ham, and it wasn't the most convincing performance in front of goal for both teams. It was a goalkeeper fest, really. I mean, there should have been 4 or 5 goals at least in that game, but Fabianski and Henderson just had a day out, both of them, and really, I mean, Fabianski was unlucky to give up the Taiwo goal that won the game, really. It was a bit of a nothing goal, and he'll take it, and so will Forest. He gets them the 3 points. Doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you get the points. But yeah, look.
And a penalty save from Henderson as well.
Yeah, he rightly so with that got man of the match. And I mean, you couldn't begrudge him for getting man of the match there. You had to pick one of the goalkeepers, and obviously the one who won it for his team gets the chocolate. So yeah, really good for Forest. The penalty from Rice was a bit. It wasn't the worst penalty, but I mean, Henderson did well to get down low and save, but maybe it was probably predictable in his eyes. But yeah, look, all credit to Forest. They look really good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if you look at the first 5 fixtures of the year for Nottingham Forest, they probably wouldn't have expected to take a lot of points, maybe if any, to be honest, from those first 5. I mean, starting off with Newcastle and then obviously West Ham, they got Everton, Tottenham, and then City. So it's a tough opening draw. So to be able to get 3 points against West Ham is big for a newly promoted side like that. Those sorts of 3 points against those kind of teams is really what can make or break a season for a club like Nottingham, who's just come up. We don't expect them to necessarily be fighting for relegation at the end of the year, and I think this result proves it. They, like you said, they went toe to toe with them. It was you could have tossed a coin on it. So yeah, all credit to Nottingham. I think they given the 1-0 result, they probably deserved it.
Yeah, it was a plucky performance. I wouldn't say it was comprehensive at all. But like you said, against West Ham, you got to take the points. You take it and move on. And yeah, 100%. When it comes to the end of the season, those wins are the ones that really can keep you up. And if Forest if they take a point or 2 over the next other 3 fixtures over their first 5, so be it. There's some tough teams in there. I mean, 4 of those teams we've probably got in the top 10, in the top half of the table. Then Everton, who knows about Everton, but on their day, they can still be half decent. So, yeah, they've done well.
All right, let's move on to the miss. Now, I think it's fairly obvious where we're going here. We spoke about them last week. They were our hold fire from last week, and probably rightly so. Only week one, new manager. We weren't too sure where things were going, but you can't make a case for them this week. Man United well and truly deserve to be the miss this week. They were shocking. Absolutely terrible. And I mean, look, this is going to sound like an absolute flurry of punches on United from a couple of Liverpool supporters, but to be fair, it is absolutely warranted. David De Gea made probably definitely one of the worst mistakes of his career, and I put the second goal down to him as well.
Absolutely.
I know that's probably the way that Ten Hag wants to play, in terms of playing out from the back using the goalkeeper, but I don't know what he's doing, giving Eriksen the ball there in that sort of area with a man up his back. And just the team in itself. I mean, 4-0 inside 35 minutes. I think they averaged a goal about every 8 minutes from from the point that they scored their first goal, Brentford. The only credit to United, I suppose, is that they kept them scoreless in the second half, because the way they were going, it could have been a lot worse than 4. And Ten Hag's come out and said at the end of the game, he puts sole responsibility on the players. He said, I gave him instructions. I told him a way to play, and they didn't do it. He's not taking no criticism for this performance. This full performance is solely down to the players, and the players that he chose, because they didn't execute his game plan.
It's 2 games in, and it's an absolute shit show already. That just being devoid of any responsibility from Ten Hag is that creates fractures. I know it probably was the players, but if Ten Hag wants them to play in that way, and yes, he's had a pre-season to drill them, but there's got to be some sort of you've got to share the blame a little bit. Obviously, the first goal, De Gea was all on him. The second goal is probably a bit of both. If Ten Hag is so set in his ways, do this, do that, make sure you do this, and De Gea's following it, yes, it was a terrible pass. And personally, I'd probably put it on De Gea. But you have to look at Ten Hag's just willingness to, well, not willingness, but his hardness to want to follow those tactics, and think you've got to take a little bit of the responsibility for being so drilled onto those players to follow what you want. But I mean, yes, the players were terrible. The third goal, how that was let in, it was just a looped up ball right in front of the goal, and it was able to be bundled in by Ben Mee from about a yard out, half a yard. I mean, it was probably close. It was close to hitting the crossbar. Really, it was that close to goal. And the fourth goal, I loved it though. I don't know if you've seen that goal, but that little ball played in, that first touch from Ivan Toney, the way he played that ball in from Buemo, that was absolute peach of an assist. But yeah, look, just abject United. The promise that they showed in pre-season, where did that go? What happened? I mean, I wouldn't say I was super worried about United, but I thought, look, they could be pretty decent. They could be not a team to be reckoned with, but they could be good on their day. But we've seen nothing of the like. It's been completely abject in the 2 games we've seen so far.
Yeah, I've seen a few different things and listened to a few different things go around the internet about United and this game in particular, and sort of how they're moving forward. And I think Ten Hag is learning. Obviously, he's still learning the game style of the Premier League. It's obviously a lot different to the Eredivisie, but like the players such as Martinez, centre back he's brought in, was a player that he really admired. Obviously, working with him at Ajax, and he needed him in the team, and that it was almost like he was going to reshape that defense. But he's 5'9" bloke, and that's just not going to cut muster in the Premier League. Unfortunately, I really think he's going to struggle. I feel like the game is transitioning back into more of a traditional number 9 style these days with your bigger, more hold up the ball style of players. You look at Haaland, Harry Kane, who's obviously been around for a while now, Nunez coming in as well. Obviously Lukaku, who was around in a bit, before, but he's just not going to be able to do anything against these type of players. And that third goal, he was the one marking Ben Mee on the back posts, and you saw it. He couldn't do sort of anything to affect that sort of ball coming across and going in the back of the net at all because he's so small. Like that sort of thing there is where I think United will struggle, and where Ten Hag is obviously got a learning curve to come in the Premier League. Maybe he moves him elsewhere in the pitch. I've spoken to a couple of United fans that suggested that he could maybe be utilised in the midfield. But already, I think Ten Hag is learning that players that he's got in his squad are not good enough to play that style of football that he wants. Obviously, we've already spoken about De Gea, the fact that maybe he's not the best with the ball at his feet. He learned quite quickly last week that I think that he thinks Fred and McTominay aren't good enough to work in the midfield. Obviously, Eriksen was in there this week as more of a number 6, tends to play a little bit higher, but he's got a fair bit to learn and to work on. That's why they were the hold fire last week, and obviously it is still very early days, but look, there's no way we could pass them up here for the miss.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, United have let go of, well, not let go, but he's on loan. We just spoke about Dean Henderson, man of the match, wins Forest their first 3 points back in the top flight, and then you got De Gea making 2 absolute howlers to gift a fellow bottom table team in Brentford the 3 points. So it's a pretty sad story there, but look, they've got a lot to do, United.
Now, Tazza, back to you for the hold fire. We're 2 games in. Is there a team that we just should reserve judgment on for a few more weeks?
Yeah, look, I'm pointing at Wolves here. 0-0 against Fulham. There were so many more opportunities for goals there. Wolves should have put 3 past Fulham. Let's be honest. Their finishing was woeful. The chances were being created. That's the main thing here. The loss of Connor Cody hasn't dented their ability to hold a defense. They've got another not another clean sheet. They conceded 2 to Leeds, but off the back of last year, where they were a defensive rock, they've conjured up another clean sheet. But yeah, the finishing here was abject. I mean, there was an open goal that was missed. There was Morgan Gibbs-White skied one over the crossbar. That should have been buried. It was fizzed in a little quick, but you really should be burying them. And I mean, when it was skied over, it was skied over. It wasn't close. It really didn't get anywhere near it. But yeah, I don't want to be too harsh on Wolves because they were created them on any other day. One of those could have gone in, and they win the game. There's 3 points, but the finishing needs to get a lot better if they are to push for European football like we thought they might.
Yeah, no Raul Jimenez in the squad at all. I'm not fully up to date with him, but he's obviously injured. Otherwise, he'd be in there. So that's a positive for them, I suppose. He's obviously still to come back in. Clearly, Hwang Hee-chan hasn't quite pulled the strings up there as of yet. But, you mentioned Connor Cody losing lots of experience for Wolves. And yes, like you said, it hasn't really, seemed to dent their defensive prowess. But you're losing your skipper, you're losing your leader in that team, really. Remains to be seen whether it does affect them more in the future. I believe Jose Sarr picked up man of the match, which is nothing new for that.
Much deserved.
Much deserved, yeah. So, they've had opening 2 fixtures against 2 teams that we seem to we predicted that might be in that lower end of the table, sort of relegation area. and picked up only just 1 point off of it. It's definitely not an ideal start for them, but I still think there are a few more pieces of the puzzle to come back in for them before they can really start hitting full gear.
Yeah, good point there. They once the pieces are all back, I think we've seen enough now that maybe they just need a bit more class up forward. Obviously, we haven't seen how this defense is going to hold up without Cody against a top team, so that's another piece that we probably need to see. But I think Wolves have got enough. About an hour ago, I saw that they'd had a bid accepted for Matthias Nunes from Sporting Lisbon. So another Portuguese bloke.
Another Portuguese.
Yeah,
Yep.
shock horror. But yeah, look, that could be a good piece. A guy to slot in that midfield. I know he was linked with a few other Premier League teams, namely Liverpool, but I'm not sure they were all that interested in him. I think it was just to drum up the price, to be honest. But yeah, look, if he's in that conversation, he must be pretty decent. I can't say I've seen a lot of him, but yeah, I think for Wolves, it could be a good signing.
No, good work from us. If you are a fan of any of these three teams, we want to know your thoughts. Particularly United fans. There's plenty of them out there, and being two Liverpool fans, we're more than happy to cop anything in the comments that you might disagree of that we've spoken about. But that's going to wrap up the review for week 2. Appreciate you for watching. Tazza, thanks for joining us, mate. And we'll see you all later on in the week for the next video. Cheers.